So this is a Disney Sorcerers Arena heroic Phase 4, very end of Phase 3 run, in which nearly 8 million points were scored. The contract given was the grant helpful effects, very easy to complete with Baymax. This is the old Barley team, but it's after the nerf, so Barley can only reduce the magic 5 times maximum, but he'll get resisted with his Van. It doesn't even get close to that in this run, but still a very useful character for the raid. This run goes all the way to the entire end of the raid, so it's a solo of Phase 4 and a little bit of Phase 3. It is easier, potentially, to start at the end of Phase 3 than to start at the beginning of Phase 4 if you're going to do this kind of run, because it allows you to build some stuff up. But you'll see in this run, I am going to lose Baymax to an insta-kill, so I go into the last phase with 4 characters, which in its own way can be beneficial, but is also might not be beneficial. Once Baymax gets lost, then Ursula comes very hard at Barley, so you have to get out of the phase at that point. Otherwise, the strategy here is to protect everybody with Baymax. You always want to use Cobra's Cleanse on Sven, because that is what gets the buffs on him, and except occasionally if there's already a tactics on Sven, which is what you're trying to get, you can give the tactics to Barley, because that will give you an opportunity to reduce the insta-kill with the Van, which is what I attempted to do right there, but it didn't work. It resisted, so therefore I lost Baymax. Otherwise this run would have gone for a while more. But the key remains, use Cobra's Silence on Ursula to reduce her turn meter. You can watch the yellow bar go down every time I use it. I use it every time I can, so for the most part I'm using Hero to speed up Cobra, and I'm using Barley's Book of Yore also on Cobra to increase the magic so he can cleanse, so he can give tactics to Sven, and so that he can silence Ursula and reduce her speed meter as much as possible. And Sven just continues to eat carrots for a while. But now at some point here, you see a lot of the key is that you build up a lot of shields on all your characters. But once Baymax is gone, that shield on Barley, because that's the next spot over here, this positioning is critical because Ursula pretty much goes in a predetermined direction. Now she's coming at Barley, and he can't hold on to this the way that Baymax can. So now at this point, I might hit a little bit with Sven because I really actually want to get out of this phase before Barley receives any more damage. You can see there's no more shield on Barley. So now going into Phase 4, you can watch this. I need to make sure to protect Barley, because Ursula could take him out very quickly, and then the insta-kills will get lost. So I actually take a little while to think about that. So the key is you do actually have to get the tentacles out, and so I'm using Sven to take one out, and then she hits me with a tentacle. I wasn't able to get it off, which means Barley is almost gone right here. So now I have a real problem. But this is where this run gets sort of magical in its own way, because of that damage and some of the damage that built up in Phase 3, which makes it easier, I'm able to put this cauldron out. So now I'm trying to slow down Ursula this entire time with Cobra. I'm building crits on Sven. Sometimes he assists, which isn't necessarily what I want. And I'm using Hero to speed up, to give his upgrade to the cauldron, because then the cauldron just gives magic to everybody, and it also usually gives magic to Hero, so it's kind of just like a repetitive cycle. So if I have Hero's upgrade, I give it to the cauldron pretty much, and if it's not available, then I put up the shield. Sven is just there assisting, otherwise he's eating carrots. I'm using Cobra's Cleanse on Sven still, but watch how many turns is this that I'm taking without Ursula just staying there stunned, because I just keep going to the cauldron and slowing down with Cobra when I can. You count them, it is just a lot of turns. Now with Barley, I don't want to use really any of his moves that make an attack if I don't have to. So because of the cauldron, I'm able to charge the Book of Yours pretty quickly. But I'm not hitting with the Van here because there are no tactics. Because there's no Ursula's insta-kill isn't built up at all. You can see I have the Pan Shadow available, but I'm not using it because if I used it right now on Sven, first of all, I want to build up more crits and evasion so it hits harder, but really until you're down to 2-3 characters, which almost doesn't even happen in this run, I don't want to use that. So here, now I'm actually going to use Barley's Van, even though I didn't have tactics on it, because I don't actually have a lot of ways of taking out these tentacles, because I have to pick them off like this, one by one. So here I'm going to, as you can see, you can watch, and it's a tough decision because again I still don't have tactics on it, so I'm not totally sure what to do, but I take the opportunity to take out the tentacles and save Barley's Van, because at this point there is a charge on the insta-kill and I want to get tactics onto Barley. This whole time I've only been putting the tactics onto Sven up to this point, because that's what I need. So now I put it on him, and Barley, that one does reduce the insta-kill. You could see it up there, the Ursula's 4th skill goes down to 0. So again, the strategy remains the same really. Hero speeds up the cauldron, that gives magic across to everybody, And it gives Sven, and in the meantime, Sven is getting more crits built on him if he has tactics on him, which he doesn't at this specific moment, but most of the time does from Cobra. If he has tactics on him, then he builds up 2 crits at once every time he eats a carrot. The reason I'm not getting tactics on him as often as some other times is that as you watch back when the Cauldron, what was that in Ursula, the Cauldron's still up, but when Ursula was stunned, is that I'm really trying to use Cobra's silence skill every time I can, really just to keep stopping Ursula from taking turns repetitively. And because I have the Cauldron out, this is all possible because the Cauldron is out. That's what makes this different than some of these other runs. Basically, the skills are always being charged because Hero just gives it to the Cauldron and they keep getting their magic. So that means that I have Cobra's silence skill so many available almost every opportunity. And it does make you question when to use it sometimes, because normally you might not want to use that silence skill until Ursula's turn meter is built up a little more, because it reduces the turn meter less and less every time until Ursula takes a turn. So it's something to think about, but I do like to do that. So I'm cleansing Sven now, but you see the yellow turn meter is really pretty low. So again, look at all these crits I'm building up on Sven. I'm using Cobra to silence Ursula, and it just kind of goes on like this. And remember, in the beginning of this run, Barley was almost a goner, but now look at this shield. No way anything's going to get through to him now with all the shields that have come up along with Hero's evasion. And so right now I'm just building up crit after crit on Sven, because the more I build up on him, just the bigger the numbers are going to be at some point down the road, essentially to the point. I mean, this run was set up because of the Cauldron being out there. Otherwise, you kind of try to do the same thing. But look at this. Ursula's insta-kill meter is at 0. Remember, this part of the phase started at 4 characters. So she doesn't even have a charge on her insta-kill. And look how many turns I've taken. Maybe the damage is somewhat limited, but I have taken probably hundreds of turns at this point. And Ursula's insta-kill is at 0. And now Sven is up to hitting for 224,000 damage. Now, if there she gets 2 charges onto her insta-kill, that can happen. Sometimes it's only 1. It is 2 if it's a negative effect. If she doesn't have a negative effect on her, it's guaranteed 2. So that was bad luck that she got 2 charges on her skills, because there was a negative effect on her. And so sometimes with Barley's book, a lot of the time I've been using it on Cobra, because his skills are the most important to have charged. But you can see on occasion I've given it to Sven, because it can end up giving Sven crit power up, which means that when that time I use him to attack, I haven't done a ton of damage, and I built up so many crits. And when I have the crit power up on him at this point, I decided to attack to speed it up a little bit and to get some damage done. So those were 336,000, which is about the most I've ever gotten on Sven. So that's why I use the Books of Yore on Sven there, and might use them some other times even if I choose not to attack, because at this point I have the Cauldron speeding up Cobra's skills so much that Barley's need to speed those up is to speed up Cobra's skills is less, so I can just put the potential for a crit power up on to Sven, which means that even if I'm not going to hit with him, when he assists, he would score a lot of points. But I use him there. It's up to 354,000. That's because there are 47 evasions and 47 guaranteed crits, 24 evasions, plus some tactics, and also the crit power-up gives that number a huge boost. But still, kind of the same continued strategy. Ursula still hasn't reached the insta-kill. This is, in its own way, a pretty conservative run. I'm just building up as many crits as I can on Sven. You probably could make a decision to have sped this up a little bit sooner. Now at this point I'm finally deciding I'm going to speed this up. So at least when I have the crit powers on Sven, I'm going to take a hit. That time I didn't, because the turn meter was a little higher and I want to get Cobra another turn, but she did happen to resist the stare down at that point. So that is the end of Barley. That is the only insta-kill I take in this entire run. When the tentacles are out, I really don't like them being out. So I take out the tentacles. Back to the same strategy, even though they're 3, obviously I don't have Barley to give the crit power-ups to Sven anymore, so unless I build up a lot more buffs on him, they're not going to be any more 350,000 hits, or whatever those were. But there still can be some nice hits, particularly because I'm actually continuing to build at least evasions and even some crits on Sven maybe on occasion. But at this point I've gotten close enough to the end. I see that the damage is really high that sometimes I'm going to attack with Sven. And one way to get some extra buffs on him is you can see that offense up buff can come either after Cobra has recently cleansed him, or it can come from hero if hero gives him a turn instead of the cauldron, which you might see me do on occasion, because even though it's best to give the hero's turn to the cauldron to give everybody magic, at this point, again, trying to speed through the run, not as many characters give magic to. Okay, I finally decided to copy Sven. There are enough crits and things on him at this point. I waited till a moment when he had offense up for a couple turns, and as much as I could give him at this point. So the one reason to have this, you don't put the Sven shadow out sooner, because if you put it out too soon, it breaks the strategy of not having the turns go, and it speeds up the turn meter, and you see that start to happen here. So it's something you want to wait till towards the end, and this time I waited because I was near the end of the run and because the hits that were coming from the regular Sven were so powerful. But a reason to put it out here, which I don't know if you see here, is that sometimes Sven will assist his shadow or vice versa, so it can get Sven some additional hits in addition to some decent damage that the shadow is doing. But that's it, and that's the run. Almost 8 million points.